Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of HPCritical. It is a podcast where my friends and I talk all things gaming. I am Jarrell, and I am joined by Gabe.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I had to say them all.
And Brandon.
Salutations.
And Christy.
Hi, everybody.
And this week, we're not doing a newscast like we usually do. We're going to do something a little different and a little more fun. So, but actually, before we do that, before I forget, and before we do that, quick announcement. The HP Critical crew minus Gabe will be at Summer Games Fest this year, 2024. Yeah, I'm sorry, Gabe. But next year, Gabe's going to hopefully be with us. But this year, it is going to be myself, Brandon, and Christy. You will see us out there at Summer Games Fest. It's going to be a great time. Come say hi if you listen to the podcast. We'd love to say hello to anyone who listens to us. You can also expect a lot of fun coverage from us while we're out in LA. We're all going to be in LA. It's going to be a great time. So expect a lot of Summer Games Fest coverage from HP Critical after and during the Summer Games Fest, because we will be on site making some fun moves and getting some great content out. So we're definitely looking forward to that.
And look forward to possibly other locations we might visit too.
Yes, it's going to be a fun trip. We're going to have a great time. I am so sorry that you couldn't come because it's actually going to be fucking great. Like, it's going to be amazing and you will be missed. You've been replaced, but you will be missed.
I've been replaced?
Yeah. Yeah, my boyfriend's coming since you couldn't.
Right, and stop recording. Goodbye, guys.
And also, fun times. Today, we're going to do something different, like I mentioned at the start of the show. Instead of doing news, we're going to be doing some more fun content. And this week, we're going to be doing our own Game of the Year list. So we didn't actually post a Game of the Year last year for HP Critical. We did, talk about our own individuals, but we did not post a Game of the Year last year for HP Critical. And it's time for us to change that. How are we going to change that? We're all going to present the best games, our favorite games of 2023, 10 or less.
Pokemon Sleep.
10 or less per person. We're all going to talk about our top 10 games of 2023. We're going to place them in order from 10 to 1, 10 being the worst, 1 being the best. Each game is then going to get a point based on... You okay?
Yeah, I dropped my iPad.
Oh, okay. Each game is going to get a point based on the place that it is in. So 10th place gets 1 point, 9th place gets 2 points, 8th place gets 3 points, etc., etc. First place gets 10 points. We will then tally all the points for all the games and create a master list of the best games of 2023 for HP Critical. Hopefully that sounds like fun. We're going to have a lot of fun doing it. And then as we pick these titles, we'll be talking about what makes them some of the best games of the year of 2023. And you can also look forward to us doing some more fun content. Like, I'm not going to name any. You'll just have to pay attention and watch when we go live and listen to find out. And we'll even do some polls on the podcast to see what your favorite games are, whether you agree with us or not, based on the games that came out that year or the subject that we're talking about. But I think that's enough for me. I think it's time that we start talking about some games. So, Does anyone want to go first?
I have a question. But
yes.
Just because we didn't talk about this before, how do we want to? Are we just doing all of our 10, or are we going back to like one? Okay, just do all of our 10. All right, Chrissy, you said you wanted to go first.
Are we starting?
No, absolutely not.
Not me.
Oh, you said not you. I'm sorry. All I heard was me. I'm like,
you know what? Let's do it by game, right? So let's do number 10s. Everybody's number 10, so I can give them all points at the same time. Okay. And I'll start if that's okay with you guys.
Go for it. Yeah. What's your number 10?
My number 10 game of the year last year. Actually, I apologize for anybody who liked this game. I am giving it number 10 just because I do believe that it was one of the best games of the year last year. It was just my least favorite best game of the year last year. Yep. And that is going to be Final Fantasy 16. I think it has some really... Why did you make that face?
I thought you were going to say a game that I liked.
Oh, I think Final Fantasy 16 had some really great characters. I think it had a really great plot. By the way, I didn't mention this at the start, so I'll mention it now for anyone who's listening. We will do our best to avoid spoilers for these games. However, There might be some minor spoilers, so we will definitely mention it if we are going to go into spoiler territory. So if any of you guys are going to go into spoiler territory, please do mention it ahead of time so that listeners know and they can skip that section. But yeah, that was a good catch. My light almost fell on my face. Final Fantasy 16 is my number 10 game. I think the combat was fun. It was a little rote after a couple of hours. And I'm very sad that I didn't get Leviathan in the actual game because I feel like I would have really enjoyed playing Leviathan from combat that I have seen. I think the plot kind of fell apart halfway through after there's a specific section in the game where I just felt like I don't want to play this anymore. I'm kind of lost in the sauce. There were some plot points that I didn't really understand. It already had some negative points because Yoshi P didn't put black people in it, but whatever. I overlooked that. The beginning of that game is awesome. The characters are really good. There's just a lot of talking, a lot of side quests that didn't make sense. But for what it was, I think it does deserve to be mentioned for all the good that it did have. It was technically a technical masterpiece in certain aspects. Even if I didn't agree with it, I do have to give it that. And so it's my number 10. So Final Fantasy 16 is going to get 1 point from me. Who's next?
I'll go. And I also, before I say mine, just a little disclaimer to everyone, as Darrell touched on it briefly, but 2023 was a very packed year for video games. So we don't want anyone to think that just because it's ranking low on our respective list that we didn't like it. Like Jarrell said, he did enjoy the game. He had gripes about it, but it still made his top 10. So that's worth mentioning that like all the games that we have here are games that we did like. It was just a lot of games. And moreover, we should also mention that with so many games coming out this year, understand that some of us could not have gotten to every single game that was good.
Yes.
Like, for example, had I played more of Octopath Traveler 2, had I played any of Pikmin 4, had I played Baldur's Gate 3, any one of those games would have made it onto my list. But unfortunately, I didn't because there's so many other games. So we just want to get that disclaimer out. Don't flame us. This is our respective list of what we could get to in the year of 2023. Now, with that out of the way, my number 10 is Street Fighter 6. Now, Street Fighter 6, very entertaining game. It might be my favorite Street Fighter game, quite frankly, because they just added like so much into it. Like it has felt more beginner friendly than any other Street Fighter game I've personally played. I do like the new modern controls that they added, makes everything a little more accessible to get in there. The fact that it has a robust story, well, not a story mode, but like a single player mode, gives you a lot more things to do, even if you're not just, labbing or going competitive against other people. I just like that it does feel more fleshed out experience than other fighting games have been. It's the nice bridge that I would like to see in fighting games, like make it more of a full game. Like obviously, if you're someone that just enjoys going to matches, that's plenty of game value for you right there. But I like the idea that it is adding some stuff for the single player content as well. And the only reason, honestly, it's so low is just because I haven't had as much time in it as I would.
Okay.
Like. That's the only reason. If I actually spent more time with it, it'd probably be higher on the list. But because it is the one I've played the least out of my 10, it's on number 10. Who wants to go next?
Chris, you can go next.
I don't have a number 10.
Fair. All right, Gabe, you're up.
My number 10, I lost it, is Age of Empires 4.
Ooh, okay.
Oh.
Good tell.
Yes, I like those types of games, the real-time strategy. But also, Age of Empires 4 kind of felt more closer to Age of Empires 2, which is among the fan base regarded as one of the best Age of Empires that's come out. So I was like, you know what? It's good to see it back in action with updated graphics and smoother gameplay.
All right, I think that's fair. Age of Empires 4, you said, right?
Yes, sir.
Okie dokie. So that's our 10s. That gives Final Fantasy 16 1 point, Street Fighter 6 1 point, and Age of Empires 4 1 point. Let's start with number 9, and I think we'll just keep the same order if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense.
All right, so my number 9 choice for Game of the Year is The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, and the reason it is so low on the list is because I have said this before, and I will continue to say it. I think the game is way too similar, and I know people are going to yell at me, but I think the game is just way too similar to Breath of the Wild for it to be any higher. However, it is another game that came out last year that is one of those once in a lifetime experience type games, and it definitely deserves to be in my top 10, despite all the games that came out last year. It is another technical masterpiece. It is a marvel. The things that you can do in that game are ridiculous. The creativity that people have shown off with it is just amazing. However, for me, it took me a very long time to get into Breath of the Wild. For anybody who listens to the podcast and knows me, it took me a very long time to get into Breath of the Wild. When I finally did get into Breath of the Wild, I loved it, and I actually have so far liked Breath of the Wild more so than Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not really a fan of revisiting places and things in a sequel. However, this game did a ton of like new stuff. I thought the beginning was so atmospheric and so cool, but I personally prefer more linear titles. I like to start and end a game. I like getting there, moving on to the next title, and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is one of those where you can just, it's like an MMO. You spend hours doing whatever the fuck, every side quest you find, building nonsense, which I think is really, really cool. It's just not personally for me. However, the game is still a marvel. So it is my number 10 choice. I mean, number 9 choice, sorry. Number 10 was Final Fantasy 16. Number 9, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Alrighty. So that brings us to me. So my number 9 choice is going to be Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Now, I will be very transparent about this. I love me some Mario, but I'm very much a person that has grown up with the 3D Mario games. Like Super Mario 64 is like my first one. I did enjoy Super Mario Brothers Deluxe on the Game Boy Color back in the day, but my heart has always lied with the 3D series. So it takes a lot for a 2D Mario to grab me in the very same way. And Super Mario Brothers Wonder, I would say, has come the closest to doing so. At the end of the day, it is still a very, it's a 2D Mario game, and it plays, the same kind of polish you'd expect in a 2D Mario game. But I just enjoy the variety of levels that you get with the wonder effects. Different things can happen in different levels, which is something that's appealed to me greatly. I do appreciate the multiplayer component. It's a lot of fun if you have a friend to play with, and the online play, not quite what I wanted from it, but it's still a fun way to interact with people and get a nice experience going through those levels. And the badge system is a nice way to change up the levels, make it easier, make it harder for yourself, or just get yourself different effects. Yeah. Again, it's the only reason it's as low as it is because I haven't put as much time in it as I would have liked. But it's I would say of the 2D Mario games specifically, it's my favorite. Still, I would still play a 3D Mario game any day, but as far as the 2D ones, I'd say it's my favorite.
Super Mario Bros. Wonder, right?
Super Mario Brothers Wonder, correct. Yep.
Is that the one with the elephant?
Yes, it is.
Okay. The Elephant Mario game.
Elephant Mario.
I don't know Mario games. I know them by associated animals.
What
There's like the cat Mario,
Cat,
or
Mario
the
Cat.
Elephant Mario, or that's it. Those are the only two that exist. Or the hat one. So 3. There's 3 Mario games in my mind. Gabe, number 9. She does not have a number 9. Number 9.
Nine either?
Number 9.
Ridiculous.
I don't.
She has
My number 9 is Armored Core 6.
Oh, that's a very good choice.
That was a very visually pleasing. I'm not gonna say Gundam because that's not a Gundam. This very visually pleasing mecha game. It's also a little harder than I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was one of those like games that they pull from an arcade. You know when you go to Dave and Buster's or something and you see like this, this mecha game and it's like, oh, it gives you like the most basic mission or whatever. And it's like, oh, just go blow something up. Yeah, that's what I thought this game was. I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and try it. It's from Software. From Software is my favorite, developer out there, giving me Dark Souls and whatnot. And no, it was. It actually required me to think a lot more than my brain intended to. So very fun game though.
Cool.
For how fast paced it moves, they kept the graphics and the frame rate like pretty top notch.
I think that's very fair. I think Armored Core 6 was one of those games that came out and shocked and surprised a lot of people that had never played it before, and also made a lot of fans excited that did play it. Yeah, it's a very good game. I think that's a great choice. A little low for my taste, but
I mean, when you see my other games, you understand why.
I'm sure.
I don't know. That one's a pretty good one. So let's move on to number 8. My number 8 choice for Game of the Year is Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Ooh,
I had
okay.
never played Resident Evil 4 before. 4 before.
Ha.
And oh, sorry, I forgot before I do this. That brings us to Tears of the Kingdom with 2 points, Super Mario Bros. Wonder with 2 points, Armored Core 6 with 2 points, Age of Empires 4 with 1, Street Fighter 6 with 1, and Final Fantasy 16 with 1.
Cool.
I had never played Resident Evil 4. I'd only seen like memes and stuff. Leon is great. That game is fun. I just like it. It's just a fun game. Even if you're afraid of scary stuff like me, I was literally like closing my eyes while I played because I can't play scary games. It's more so of an action title than a horror title, which I really appreciated because it did allow me to get through the game easier. I loved Leon just like suplexing zombies. I loved like just the ridiculousness of just kicking people in the face and swirling around with my blade, and it was just a lot of fun. It was a great fun action game that showed that there's still life in older titles, and so that's why I chose Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Well, that's a great segue that there's still life in older titles because my number 8 choice is Metroid Prime Remastered. And
Ooh.
just put real simply, um, of the traditional Metroid games, Metroid Dread is my favorite, but I would say my favorite overall Metroid game was the original Prime on GameCube. I really enjoyed that game. And Prime Remastered, to be clear, it definitely should be called Remastered, but it skirts so close to being a remake with how much they've updated it from a visual standpoint. I've seen so many people say online that if you had showed this game to someone who had never played Metroid Prime and told them it was a new game, that they would believe it was actually made for Switch. And it's pretty dang close to being true, I would say, visual. But beyond the visuals, they've added so much good quality of life stuff to the original game. You now have many different ways to aim Samus's gun. You could do the traditional GameCube controls. You could play it as Rebecca was on the Wii port and use motion controls. Or you could use just a dual stick format, which is how I played the game, and it just made that game so much better. And it's just a great game in general. Like it's a perfect translation of the Metroid formula into 3D with the first person thing, with the first person combat, being in service to, not only just the combat itself, but the puzzle solving that you go through, the exploration of the planet. It is just a wonderful game. The atmosphere is fantastic, and it was great to go back to it. I really hope they do the same for 2 and 3 before 4 comes out, whenever that happens.
Also, guys, I don't want it to if you do feel free, I did mention this before, but if you do want to, discuss or question or say anything to each other about your choices, please feel free. This is also still a discussion. I think Chrissy is up to 7, right?
I have up to 8.
Oh,
so
great.
she has an 8.
So
Let's go
Chrissy,
for
you're
it.
next.
So my 8th choice is Pikmin 4.
Ooh, okay.
So I think I've dabbled in Pikmin for some time to time, but this is the first game that I've actually played from start to finish. Actually, within the same year it's been released, and I really enjoyed it. I just like collecting little Pikmins, and then I think that although it's not as hard as the previous Pikmin games, I think it made sense with how the levels were designed, how there were different Pikmins to collect in this game that actually helped you out a bit more compared to the others. And I also enjoy the stage design.
Is this the Pikmin game with the ugly dog?
How dare you?
Yes.
Uchi's adorable.
Okay, the answer is yes. All right, cool.
What in the world?
I thought that dog is so ugly.
God,
I literally didn't play that game because I thought that dog was ugly. Gabe, what's your number 8?
My number 8 is Street Fighter 6.
Ooh.
Why is it so low on all of your
Never
lists?
backing down.
Tell us why it's higher than Brandon's. Brandon had it at 10.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. Chun-Li's thighs. What am I saying?
I mean,
and also, as the late Stanley would say, enough said.
I like
Wow.
the customization of main character too. Those are always fun, especially when you can do the wonky things. Like, I don't know, like you even if you don't play Street Fighter, you weren't looking forward towards the game. Like, you could see everyone's custom character customizations all through social media, and people were just letting their imaginations go wild.
Well, they certainly were.
What a reason. I think we'll do another tally here. Final Fantasy 16 has 1 point. Street Fighter 6 has 4 points. Age of Empires 4 has 1. Tears of the Kingdom has 2. Super Mario Bros. Has 2. Armored Core 6 has 2. Resident Evil 4 Remake has 3. Metroid Prime 4 has 3. And Pikmin 4 has 3. So currently in the lead is Street Fighter 6. Let's move on to number 7. Lucky number 7. So my number 7 was. What was my number 7?
Yeah, I'm looking at mine too just to make sure. Okay, I got it.
It was Super Mario RPG.
Oh, good choice.
I
All right.
didn't play the original, and I was like, "Oh, let me give this game a try because it's Square and Mario, and I like JRPGs. It's super cute. I hate when you have to like a big pet peeve of mine, which is why this game is not higher. There's two issues that I have with this game that doesn't put it higher. One of them is I didn't think everything was cute. I think some things were cute and some things were kind of ugly. Like that style, it works. Like that little chibi Mario style works for some stuff in the world, but not everything. I didn't like that. I think like Peach is my favorite, and her design was kind of meh in that game. I was a little annoyed. So the designs were iffy. That was one thing that I had that was a problem. And the other was I really hate games that have like hidden things where you just have to fucking jump around everywhere and hope that you fucking find it. And I'd never played this game before. So watching people that I know that had played the game and they're like, oh, there's a hidden chest here. And they just jump up and find it. I'm like, no, fuck y'all. I don't want to spend 50 hours jumping in the air to finish this damn game. But playing Mario as an RPG was a lot of fun. It's just a super cute, fun, quirky game that definitely deserved a place on my list. I just liked it.
That's a surprise
Cool.
for me.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Why is that a surprise?
Because there's a Mario game in your top 10.
Oh, I know, it's wild, but only because it was an RPG and it had ties to Final Fantasy. So that's literally the only reason it's up here. Oh, funny.
Well,
Brandon.
Speaking of Square Enix and Final Fantasy, my number 7 is Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line. And
So
I enjoy.
low.
Yeah, I mean, it's another thing where it's just because I haven't finished it. But from the time that I have played, I think it's probably one of the best rhythm games I have ever played. Like it is the culmination of like pretty much all up to that point in the series, all Final Fantasy music, including a good deal of the spin-offs as well. So many songs from the different games. It's so awesome to play through them with the different little chibi Final Fantasy characters that you unlock upon the way. And as good as all the music is, like they just kept updating this game to have from other Square Enix franchises. Like we got Live Alive, we got Nier, we had the Mana series, we had Romancing Saga. The World Ends With You. Like there was just so much music from like different Square Enix games in this game that it's just like there's literally no shortage of things to play. Like that's a game that I just come back, like if I'm in a mood to just like, you know what, I feel like listening to some Final Fantasy music and I have some time, I'll just boot it up and just do a song and just chip my way through it basically. Like I was playing it a lot when it came out, but it has become one of those games that, you know, when I'm in a mood and then I'll just do like a bunch of songs and put it down for another month or two, then pick it back up and do the same. So it's just a great game for that. And I love it for that. Yep, great game.
Chrissy.
So my number 7 is Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
Okay.
Oh.
I really enjoyed the game, but it just didn't, compared to the games that I've played in 2023, it just couldn't top the list. But it's in my top, 8 games that I enjoyed?
Yeah.
It was just a fun game that you can easily just pick up and play, and then after that, drop it for a little bit. And also, I really do like, the elephant characters. They're actually kind of cute.
Yeah. Chrissy, I have to ask, since you brought it up, since I know you are a Yoshi lover, how much did you use Yoshi in that game? And I ask because he is in that game, but of course it's kind of like an easy mode in the game. I'm just curious.
I mean, I used him as much as I could, but then there are times where you just had to use the power-ups, and Yoshi just doesn't like the power-ups, and it made me very sad.
Yeah, power-ups and Yoshi don't mix, unfortunately, which is a downside. But
and plus, the art style was really cute, and I liked how it had online features that you could also enable with this, so that way other players can help you out. Just made the game much more enjoyable.
Well, I can't agree or disagree. I played it for like 5 seconds. So I believe everything you said. Although that is so disappointing about Yoshi.
Yeah,
Super
Yoshi's fun to
disappointing.
play, but yeah, no power
That
ups if you
somehow
use
seems
Yoshi.
racist.
I mean,
I
that's
don't
what
know why, but that seems
happens when he
racist.
commits tax evasion.
There is nothing wrong with a little bit of tax evasion if your name is Yoshi. I feel like he
Okay,
earned that.
I'm glad you threw that last part in
Yeah, I
there.
was gonna say that's something you should say.
He earned that.
Or if you're a turnip boy, because that
Or
game exists too.
Turnip Boy. What game is that?
Oh, it's an indie game. It's literally called Turnip Boy Evades Tax. I'm sorry, Turnip Boy commits tax
Oh, okay,
evasion.
okay,
Tax
okay.
evasion.
Yeah,
I know what you're
yeah.
talking about. Yeah.
Isn't there like a
Oh
sequel?
gosh.
It came out recently, I think, too.
I hope Yoshi's in the sequel. Um, Gabe, you're up.
My number 7 is Forspoken,
Ooh.
keeping
Ooh.
the trend of Square Enix over
Square
here.
Enix. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it despite what everybody was bitching about online, I did find Frey to be one of the more memorable main characters from last year's games. It's just it's a New Yorker with New York presence. Like, get over it, bro. That's how they talk.
Exactly.
And if you're a New Yorker and you disagree, you're lying to yourself. I know how you people talk. My mother is from New
Facts
York.
B.
My brother is from New York. We know how
That
you
ass.
guys talk. And it did until Breath of the Wild came out. Sorry, Tears of the Kingdom came out. It was a game I could easily replay, but with I think one of the things of 2023 was there was just so many open world games that you can't replay all of them comfortably. And Forspoken just happened to be one of the open world games that I like. Once you beat the game, there's still things to do. There is a post game and there's a DLC now. But it's like I don't want to keep fighting the same enemies the same way over and over again. But so that's why it's not in my top 5. But it's a good game. You say otherwise,
I
Ray?
agree. Okay. Well, luckily I agree. I agree. Forspoken's a great game. It might be on my own list. Let's see. Who knows? Let's go to number 6 now. I think we're on number 6. So my number 6 is Forspoken.
Oh, hey. Continue the conversation.
And literally for all the reasons that Gabe said, first of all, I had to support it because oh my god, black woman in fantasy, let's fucking do it. Wait, that was sorry, I'm on number 6, right?
We're on number 6, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that brings Forspoken up to 9 points, being the current leader. Yeah, I decided to support it, and then I played it, and I just think there's so much innovation in that Square Enix title, more so than any of the other games that I have mentioned so far. And I like aside from Tears of the Kingdom, I think there's more innovation in any other game aside from Tears of the Kingdom that I've mentioned so far. With things like there's little stuff that just adds up, like the ability to change your nail color, which then changes your abilities. Like you paint your nails to change your abilities. You have these capes that you can wear that also change your abilities. The traversal was super fun and fluid. The effects were like gorgeous. Is one of the reasons that I actually started playing Dragon's Dogma 2 is because I saw someone playing like the wizard character or whatever, and I just watched like these really cool fucking effects on PS5, and I was like, holy shit, that looks awesome. And I picked up the game specifically because of that. And Forspoken has that in spades. Like this game, it just like the character designs are awesome. The enemy designs are awesome. The voice acting is really good despite what people have said, like Gabe mentioned. The story is okay. The story's not bad. It's a chill story, and if you actually play the game, you do get to kind of fall in love with Frey. She's a great character. She's a lot of fun, and she's supernatural. I think what people got stuck on was like sections of the game that they hadn't seen, but like if you actually play the game, she's actually supernatural. She's not annoying at all. The fucking Cuff is actually the annoying piece of shit, and people were wrong because Cuff is trash and Frey's fucking awesome. But it's a really fun game. I loved being able to there were some issues with like button layout and some of the design decisions, but there was a lot of just really cool innovative stuff done in that game. Like I love switching to the different elemental abilities, and like putting your like imagine putting yourself in like or putting your enemy in a bubble, like a literal water bubble, and then creating a fucking fire tornado and just like killing everything in the vicinity. Like it's really cool. And if you like Final Fantasy 16, because one of my favorite things to do was the Garuda ability that just like gave you the fucking tornado and like killed all the ads like super quick. If you like that, you would probably enjoy Forspoken. Except for I think that whatever, I don't want to compare the two. That's my reasoning for my number 7 being Forspoken. What about you, Brandon?
Wait, that was number 7. I
I
thought
mean,
we were
number
at 6.
6.
Yeah, I was
6.
like, alrighty. Well, I don't have as good a segue as I did the last two. So my number 6 is Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. I never played the original game on DS, so playing it on Switch was my first time playing it. And I'm kind of blown away by how good it was. Like those that it always had a niche audience, but those niche knew what they were talking about, bro. Once I actually got to the game, like the story is so engaging. Like I genuinely wanted to know what was gonna happen constantly as I was going through that story. The puzzles, you really got to think with those puzzles in that game, but once it clicks for you, it's like, oh, and then you're just moving on the story. Like it's a great marriage of puzzle solving and storytelling that I really enjoyed. There were some genuine twists as I was going through it. Loved the characters, loved the abilities that they had. Music was really good too. And yeah, no, it had the story has still stuck with me, honestly. And Missile, the dog in that game, is genuinely one of the best boys in gaming. Like he is such a good dog, and you don't realize just how good a dog is until you've gone through the entire story. Like there'll be parts like, oh, okay, he is a good dog. I've heard so many people tell me like, oh, Miss is a good boy, and I'm going to stories like, oh yeah, he's a good boy, and then I finish, so it's like, oh my god, he's the best dog ever. Like you have to finish to like fully understand. But yeah, no, I love Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. So that is my number 6.
I definitely have it on my to play list after you talking about it, like giving it so much praise.
Yeah, I loved it.
Christy, you're up.
Well, Brandon stole my number 6.
So, no, let's go! Ghost Trick,
Fair.
Ghost Trick.
Which was really funny because Brandon was the one who told me to play Ghost Trick, and then I like sped run through the entire game.
Yeah, she beat me. She got
wow.
She beat it before I did. Like I got a head start, she still beat me. But you know that's par for the course with Christy, Miss Speedrunner over here.
Brandon was like, "Oh yeah, you should play this game. You totally love it." I was like, "Okay, sure." Bought it, played it. Oh, I really like it. Next thing I was like, "Hey, so where are you, Brandon?" "Oh, I'm still here." Oh, I guess I can't tell you about the story then.
Yeah.
So that is Christy, for anyone listening. Yeah. That is a testament to if Christy likes a game, she will literally finish it in like 5 seconds.
Honestly. So Christy, do you agree with my assessment on Missile?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Missile's a good boy.
Thank you.
All right, Gabe, what's your number 6?
My number 6 is the Dead Space remake.
Ooh, all right. Another remake.
Why'd you say "oh" like that?
Yeah, I was like, what the? Gabe, begin talking. Just. What's great about Dead Space? Tell us.
Man, it was just good to see that game running on a more updated engine. When the game originally came out, I thought it looked really good, but they announced the game, whatever. And I started playing it, and I was like, you know what? I want to go back. I want to see what Dead Space originally looked like because I don't know if my mind just doesn't remember anymore. And there is a very clear upgrade to the visuals. It's just nice to be able to play one of the very, very few horror games that I don't mind playing. And I think I started a playthrough on it on YouTube. I just haven't finished it, but the game is very fun. It's I don't know, like I don't know the word for it, but I like to sit here and be like, oh, I'm gonna play this game. I'm not gonna get scared this time, just to get scared that time. And
wow,
yeah, it's just Dead Space is really good for me for
that. Okay. Dead Space. I just can't believe that you put it above like some other games, but okay.
Like what?
Literally everything else on your list, but okay. Whatever you enjoy, buddy. This is your list.
4. Nuh-uh.
Not Age of Empires 4, but like Armored Core 6. Do you think that it's worse than Dead Space remake?
Well, again, it's like we were saying. So many games came out. Shut your mouth. So many games came out in 2023, and they're all so good that this list necessarily isn't like we think they're leaps. What is that saying? Leaps and what?
Leaps and bounds.
Leaps and bounds above like the one under it. They're all all my top 10, they're all pretty close to each other, except I will say 10 and 1 are not close to each other at all. But but everything else is relatively close to each other. And my thing with Armored Core is, while like yeah, it was action packed and fast paced, you're kind of just blowing up robots. Like there's a story to it. You're kind of just blowing up robots.
That's the fun in it.
I
Like
know, but
that's the point.
Dead Space, I like Dead Space's story more.
You're kind
It's
of
like,
just breaking body parts and being disgusted.
with a
Oh
gun.
wow. Oh, with a gun. My bad. Okay, well, let's move on to number 5. Actually, before we move on to number 5, I'll give you guys the current standings. I'll give you the top 3. Number in first place currently is Ghost Trick Phantom Detective with 10 points. In second place is Forspoken with 9 points. And in third place is Super Mario Bros. Wonder with 6 points.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to number 5. My number 5 is Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line for all the reasons that Brandon said. I love it. I love, but the only thing he didn't mention that I will mention is the co-op mode. I think I've never played a better co-op mode in a rhythm game than I have in Theater Rhythm. I think they just pulled it off perfectly. It's so fun. Sometimes in co-op modes in these types of games, they're not as intuitive or they're just not as fun to play. This game is like just one of the best. I think it's just done it the best of any rhythm game, and I've played a lot of rhythm games. It's just including Melody of Memory. Like if you do Melody of Memory multiplayer and then you do Theater Rhythm multiplayer, Theater Rhythm by far sets the bar for any type of multiplayer and rhythm games, and it's just one of the best. Oh, Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line. That's my number 5. Brandon.
So my number 5 is Fire Emblem Engage. So, I will say, in terms of gameplay, it's probably my favorite Fire Emblem. In terms of story, that still goes to Three Houses without question. But in terms of gameplay, I really enjoyed Engage. You have a large variety of characters this time around, which I guess is a little more in line with some of the older Fire Emblem games, which gave you a lot of characters. Like you have so many people to work with, and they all have like different bonds you can form with them. The big, of course, feature was of course the engage mechanic where you can like bond with like past Fire Emblem heroes and use their abilities to battle, and every single character could do it. So every single character had like different quotes and then like dialogue that they could have with these characters, which there's just so much. If you want it, there is so much dialogue in this game that you can get between the main characters and the characters of the past as well. So it's pure Fire Emblem fan service, and this was intended to be an anniversary game, so that should be expected. How much reference there is to past Fire Emblem games. The map design is a reference to many past design. It's basically a love letter to like longtime Fire Emblem fans, but I think newcomers could also enjoy the game as well. I think the only reason why it is where it is because again, it's not the best Fire Emblem story. I did enjoy it for what it was. There have been better stories in the series. But yeah, the characters could have been a little better. There's some characters that stood out more than others, but overall, I really enjoyed it. It was a very enjoyable experience. I'm glad the DLC came out early so I could actually use that stuff because we all talk about like why did this come out so early if it was ready, but if it came out later I wouldn't have used it. Just so there's that, I guess. Yeah, had fun with it.
That was a debate.
That sure was.
And
a
I don't
debate
disagree. I don't. I still think it was trash, but I also don't disagree.
Yeah.
Christy.
So my number 5 is Final Fantasy 16.
Okay.
Oh, why? Well,
I think that's a good place for it. No, I think that's a good place for it.
I think out of the games that were released last year that I've played, it's kind of hit the middle of the ground. It's like in the middle of the pack of all the games. Like there were some story elements that I enjoyed, and I felt like that they could have done better. The highs were very, very high, but the lows were very, very low. However, the highs were much more memorable to me compared to the lows. But what I enjoyed about the game was that it made you care about the icons and made all of the icons more memorable. I know Brandon and I we've spoken about it before, and we're like, oh yeah, we're playing through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and we're like, oh yeah, we need to go see Joshua. The Phoenix. We need to go meet the Phoenix.
Yeah, we have been joking about that. Like, though I think both of us came to the agreement that it's like, Titan is in Rebirth as well, and I haven't made a single Kupka reference because screw Kupka.
But I really enjoyed the icon designs out of 16. I think 16 has like the best icon designs for the most part. I think
Yeah.
there's like a few where I prefer from previous entries, but overall I like the icon designs in 16. And I also like the fact that there's very much a homage to like the previous Final Fantasy games, especially from like 1 through 6. If you
Mm.
play through those games, you can start to see, you're like, oh, okay, this is why they did this. Okay, I see now.
Before we go to Gabe, I think something that I didn't mention that I think I should have mentioned on Final Fantasy 16 is I think the boss fights were also a lot of them were really done really well. Like I still
Agreed.
remember that Titan battle. Like that's the one that stands out to me in my head as like
That
one
was
of the
so
best
good.
ones. Music was great, the battle was great. Like it definitely did a lot of great things.
The Bahamut
And I
battle was
agree.
really good.
I agree with the designs as well. I think it's some of the best. I still think
Christina,
Final
I
Fantasy
still
10 has the
debate.
best, but
This
I've
is
heard
still
that the
debate which is
Leviathan music was really good too, and I still need to do it. I just don't have time.
yeah, same. I'm still going through Rebirth. I'll get to 16 as DLC eventually. What I was gonna say was like me and Chrissy
Mhm.
still debate on whether we prefer Titan or Bahamut. Like, yeah.
I prefer Titan. But that also reminds me of something that I didn't like about the game, which is I thought that Creative Business Unit 3, which is renamed now, I thought that they just made it way too much like Final Fantasy 14, which is also a homage to every other Final Fantasy game for anybody who's played 14. From like literally using the same font in the like title screen.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
thought it was just way too and the side quests, like you
Wasn't a fan
literally
of the
turn them
fetch
in like
quest.
they're you literally turn them in like you do in Final Fantasy 14. You literally go over, a box pops up, you hand it over. It works in an MMO. I don't think it works as well in an action RPG, like at all. And that's what I mentioned with like some of the mechanics things. Gabe,
Although I will say that Clive looks
oh
great
sorry,
in Final Fantasy 14, along with Torgal.
he literally looks better than everyone else in Final Fantasy 14. Literally looks better than everyone else.
Um, to go off what you said about the boss battles, I don't. It might just be me, but I do think 2023 had some of the best boss battles between all the games that came out. Tears of the
Mhm.
Kingdom's final boss battle, Spider-Man 2's final boss battle, Final Fantasy 16's boss battles, Forspoken's final. Well, Forspoken, all their boss battles were pretty fucking cool. So
Yeah,
The
I
I do
boss,
really
think
love
the
them.
DLC
2023
boss.
like 2023, I think its consistent theme was boss battles. They were all very cool,
Yeah.
very good.
They're firing on all cylinders there for sure.
Especially
My
with Fire
number
Emblem
five.
Engage, that DLC.
We're
That
not
was
talking
really
about Fire
cool.
Emblem Engage anymore. That let down of a fucking game. Um, my number five. My number five is Final Fantasy 16.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
wow.
Yeah, Final Fantasy actually made it onto my list. I'm a very big fan of medieval fantasy. I feel like a lot of games aren't giving us that anymore. And Final Fantasy 16 did a really good job. Again, in my opinion, I'm not a big Final Fantasy fan like the rest of the three here, so I don't look at it in the how does this fit in or pay homage to the rest of the games? I'm like, damn, cool. I got a sword and magic.
Wow.
Fire it away. Yeah. So I like Final Fantasy 16. It definitely the medieval fantasy itch was met. It also kind of gave me like a Game of Thrones vibe. Again, that's just me. Like, like the beginning at least, like, oh, there's a lot of family problem because, is this spoilers? Is it kind of spoilers? I won't say it, but yeah, Final Fantasy 16. That's my numero cinco.
Okay, so the current standings have Final Fantasy 16 in the lead with 13 points. However, I believe. Wait, Brendan, you haven't mentioned FF16, right?
I haven't yet.
Okay, because I was about to say it's about to be stuck, but Brandon, we'll see. It might get a few more points. In the lead currently is Final Fantasy 16 with 13 points, followed by Ghost Trick Phantom Detective with 10, and Theater Rhythm also with 10 and a tie. That is our current top three. So we're at number 4, right?
Yeah, we
Yes.
are at 4. Go for
My number 4 game of the year is Street Fighter 6,
it. Ooh, here it is.
which.
Ooh.
I can't believe y'all had it so low. I think it is one of the. I have it so high because to me, it is the staple of what a good fighting game is supposed to be. It literally has everything, and it is very open for beginners. Like I actually started playing, learned some combos, got decent enough than I have in like any other game where I'm just smashing buttons. Everything like you guys have already said, I don't need to go over a lot more. I just think it opens the realm for other for beginners, but it also it's just so fun to watch. Like I don't know if you guys have just like seen people compete at a high level or even a medium level.
Oh, I
It's a
have.
lot of fun to watch. It's a lot of things that you feel like you can do, and like other fighters that came out. God, what was that really bad one? Mortal Kombat. Like after it, just showed just how good Street Fighter 6 was. Like it to me, I put it so high because it literally sets the bar of what a fighting game should be on release. It has tons of modes, arcade modes, practice modes, story modes, like everything, customization, characters that look good, characters that they paid attention to and design. Like it's just a great fucking fighting game. It is like it is the standard. Like right now, I think that for JRPGs, Final Fantasy VII Remake is the standard of what they could be, and for fighters, I think that Street Fighter 6 is the standard of what they could be and should be. So Street Fighter 6 is my number 5.
Cool, cool, cool. So that brings us to me. So my number 4 is Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Cam. I have a deep affection for the original 2 Advance Wars games. I've long wanted them to make some kind of comeback, and lo and behold, they got a modern remake on Switch. And my God, they did such. WayForward did this remake, and my God, they did such a good job with this game. The art of this game is impeccable. I know the toy soldier design, kind of looking design, didn't work for everybody, but I thought it was a nice modern look at the game, which was originally, of course, like sprite based. But the actual gameplay itself is intact. There's a few quality of life changes to make the overall game experience a little bit better. Um, and they made it so that even though it has both games, if you're doing like multiplayer matches or like mission modes or whatever, you can switch which style you're using this character in the Advanced Wars 1 style or the Advanced Wars 2 style. So they did think about it, how the fact that some of the characters did change between the first game and the sequel. So there's clearly a lot of love put into this game from the developers that made it. They clearly cared about Advanced Wars when they made it, and I think it's just the best version of those original 2 games. And while the single player experience of those games is fantastic in their own right, with the strategy of using your commander to fight the other commander, that game also really shines well in multiplayer as well. It's just not something I've tried as much as I would have liked to, but there's a lot of maps. You can use all the different characters, plan out your own strategies. So far, I've only played with 2 people. One being our mutual friend Sterling Silver, and my good friend Rob. May he rest in peace. We had some matches together. He's gonna remain undefeated because he beat me, and I won't be able to run that back, unfortunately. But well, he gets to carry that W forever. So good on him. But yeah, no, I love Advanced Wars dearly. It is definitely one of my favorite turn-based strategy games out there, and this is just the best version of those first 2 games. What's up, Christy? What's up, number 4?
Chrissy.
Oh, so my number 4 is Fire Emblem Engage. I honestly enjoyed the story more than I thought I would, and the character designs at first I wasn't too keen on them, but then they also grew on me as well too, and I'm like, what is this? I just love the game. I enjoyed it. I've gone back to play it a couple times, and I'm still stuck on that final boss battle in the DLC map because I refuse to go down to normal. I'm like, I refuse. So I'm just stuck there trying to figure out how to beat that boss and hopefully get the DLC characters for my main game.
Gabe.
I guess I'm gonna have to play Final Fantasy, Fire Emblem Engage, since you guys have it in your top 5s. Because that game, I tried putting in at least 3 hours in that game, and I'm like, you know what? You'll never beat 3 houses.
I mean, Alear, when you first meet Alear, like what endears us to Alear is the fact that when you first meet Alear, they're like, oh yeah, let's just run. What?
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
Yes. I love that moment.
Alear's a funny character.
My number 4 is Spider-Man 2.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a very...
Flip.
What?
I said flip.
Oh. Yeah, that was very fun. I'm a very big fan of how they did the game and how they were able to put 2 Spider-Men into one game without necessarily knocking one off to the side. seeing Miles Morales have his coming of age moment throughout the game, and his story, his journey, the way it went about was pretty freaking cool. Spoiler, I mean, at the same time, anyone who's a Spider-Man fan and they've seen the trailer, if you haven't played it, you see that Peter gets the symbiote seat.
Oh yeah,
Symbiote.
Yeah, symbiote. So whatever. Um, I am a big fan of Miles Morales kicking his ass to get him to come to his senses while he had that suit on. I thought that was badass. I'm
Such a
always
cool
like, I
moment.
wasn't a fan. I'm never a fan of
That's
like.
a spoiler.
I said spoiler alert. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't hear it. Sorry.
I'm never a fan of the simplicity of like ringing bells or like just setting him on fire to get that suit off. I think it was pretty freaking cool that there's a fight dedicated to you knocking Peter Parker on his ass to his senses. Um, I again, because we talked about boss battles earlier. The final boss battle between the characters was friggin' awesome. It was it was one of those, I'm not gonna say classic Sony boss battles where you have your one button like movie scenes like in God of War kind of. You did have to do your own fighting, but it was freaking awesome to see. I love being able to just swing through the world of New York, seeing things that I've personally seen with my own eyes. I still think it's cool to see the Avengers Tower like in the background every now and then.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because they literally play nothing, nothing into.
Yeah,
the
they don't
story.
do nothing.
Yeah, like their tower is just there just to say, hey, you know, we remember the Avengers or New York, whatever. But yeah, it was
Sanctum
pretty fun game.
Sanctorum can be found there too if you look for it.
Yeah, I like its replayability and being able to just go about the world when you don't really want to save a citizen.
Is
getting
it
mugged
really
or something.
replayable?
Yeah.
Didn't know that. You just replay the story?
You can replay the story, yeah. You can replay side missions if you want to. Because not all, so, and that's another thing I know you don't like it because you don't like it when something isn't given into you in the main story. But there are some things that, there are some side quests that do kind of paint a story. For example, Venom has a son named Carnage. Where if you don't play the side quest, you're never going to know about Carnage. There is a tease within the game though that Carnage is going to play a not bigger part, or a part later on in one of the upcoming games, whether it be the next Miles Morales Spider-Man game or the next Spider-Man 3 game. So, it's just for me.
Fair point. Also, I somehow feel like I messed my list up because I have 4 games left and I'm on number 3.
Do you remember your last couple of games?
That's what I was looking at, and I don't know what happened. Maybe I voted for something twice. I don't know what happened. So we might have to just go through everything at the end because I might have just messed up all the numbers by voting twice for something because I have 4 games left. And I don't know what I did. I guess we just go on to number 3 and I figure it out at the end. But I have 4 games. I don't know what to do. It's like, I don't know how I have 4. Maybe I did Street Fighter 6 twice. Did I do Street Fighter 6 twice?
No, you've only said it once.
You-
You said it was your number 4
Mocked us
choice.
for
I
having
said-
it lower on our list, and then you said yours.
I did Final Fantasy 16,
Which you put, yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Super Mario RPG, Forspoken. That's 5, right?
Yeah.
Theater Rhythm, Street Fighter 6. Oh, I had too many games. I didn't do any more than once. I had too many games. I had 11. My top 3. Oh no, I have to get rid of something, but they're all so good. That's why they're top 3. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna have to do an honorable mention because I gotta get rid of one of these games, and I don't want to. So, Brandon, do you want to go first while I decide?
Yeah, sure. I'll do it. So my number 3 is, well, it's finally coming up, Final Fantasy 16. So, Final Fantasy 16. Now, I want to be very clear. I've as in all your respective placements, I've definitely heard the criticisms, but it's for me personally, none of those criticisms really apply to me personally. The main one is just the fact that there's a lot of talking and then the side quests feel very padded out and set fetchy. I acknowledge it, but I just simply did not feel that way, and that's something I really enjoyed about the game. Like when I got into this world, like Gabe, I do enjoy a nice high fantasy style game or high fantasy style story if it's done well. And I just got completely sucked into this world, like full sail, both feet in. Like even before the game came out, they were sharing like some of the lore of the game with the icons, the different kingdoms, and I was just eating that up. That just built into my excitement so much. And then when you go into the game itself, you have this character named Tomes, who just gives you like all this information, this glossary of all these characters you meet. It updates as you're going through the story. I just love seeing the progression. And then you also meet another character called Vivian Ninetails, who is like showing you the progression of the world as it's going on, how it's updating, who's doing this. And I'm not necessarily including this part of the game, but in the DLC, they even added character thoughts. So what was this character thinking during this moment? And that added even more layer. Like, I haven't really properly started the DLC of 16. The one thing I have done was spend like maybe an hour and a half just going through all the character thoughts, seeing how they felt about the different parts of the game. But yeah, no, I just love the story so much. So even though side quests, yeah, not all of them were great, but I just, I was invested in seeing what these characters that lived in this world. Like to me, it made the world feel more real. So I was like, okay, you need these things. Okay, that's kind of fetchy, but why do you need those? Once I found out the why, the question instantly for me got a lot more interesting. I'm just like, ooh, that's why you need it. And sometimes those quests ended in tragedy, and they would like hurt me. Some of the finishing some of those quests, not because I didn't like doing the quests. It was like, oh no, things didn't get wrapped up in a tight little neat little bow. Oh no, things went quite bad for you. So like you just never know what would happen when you did some of these side quests, where they ended well or they didn't. And then even just barring the side quests, which I did enjoy, I enjoyed the gameplay. I wish it was just a little more RPG feeling, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. The story was immaculate, well, for the most part. During the end, I will say I prefer the first half to the second half, but I still enjoyed the second half as well for what it did do. The new main villain that is revealed in the second half, not as strong as some of the earlier villains, but I still enjoyed it, and the ultimate final struggle. And this has been mentioned before, but those bosses were so good. So many of those bosses felt like they could have been the final bosses in another video game. Like Titan had so many phases. I love the Titan fight so much. Like I played that at like 7 in the morning, and I was just like, it was by 9. I was like, what the hell did I just play? That was so good. That was just like, I just couldn't believe myself. I was just like, that was such a good fight. And then Christy was telling me Bahamut was even better. And let me tell you, Bahamut is a really good fight. It was a really good fight. I was very happy with it. But I was like, but that ecstasy I felt in Titan isn't quite the same. Like, so but that's just a testament to just how good the fights are in this game, that there's so many high points, those being at top. I can't wait to try the DLC to see what kind of fights come up there. But yeah, no, I just fell in love with the world of 16. The characters, Clive is one of my favorite protagonists in just video games in general now. He's such a good character. He goes through so much, and I could go on and on. I just love the characters. Sid, yeah.
Brendan, I know
Yes.
you don't like MMOs, but you would really love the story of Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. Like, you would fucking cry. Like, you would love it.
I
That's all I
believe it.
gotta say. After listening to your like love for 16, you would love Shadowbringers like so much.
Have you figured out your
Sorry
three?
to derail everything, but apparently Kingdom Hearts is coming to Steam.
Wait. Oh, that's right. No, it was on Epic Game Store. That's right. Wow. Oh, wow, Christy. So quadruple dipping? What is this for you now? Because you're getting on Steam.
I
I
lost
know you
count.
are.
I lost count.
I literally just saw someone playing it on their phone, and they were talking about how it's so much better even on their phone than it was on the cloud version on Switch.
Yeah, I saw
Give me
that
a
same
native
post you're
port.
talking about.
Give me a native
Um,
port.
Chrissy, what's your number 3?
Number 3, it would be Detective Pikachu Returns.
Oh,
To the surprise of no one, that it would make it to my top
I'm
10.
surprised. I'm
top
surprised
8.
it's not number 1.
I mean, there's a different game at number 1.
Okay.
So, honestly, even though the puzzles were really, really easy, I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the story. The story beats. The story beats went. It took unexpected turns, and there were some parts where it got darker than what I thought that they were willing to go. I was like, oh yeah, it can't go this dark, and then all of a sudden, like, wait, what? It did?
I do know of one spoiler from the game, and I think I saw it independently, and then I think I told you about it, Christy, and I'm like, Detective Pikachu Returns went there. I'm like, so it's just like, all right, wow, yeah, but continue.
But yeah, overall, I enjoy the game. I enjoy the story beats. I've actually thought about putting it back in today just to replay the story because I
Oh,
enjoyed it.
all right. Gabe, number 3.
My number 3 is Hogwarts Legacy, and I will not be talking about the game.
Okay.
Fair
My
enough.
number 3 is damn y'all,
He's still thinking about it.
so hard. It's because my top 4 is so good, and that means I can't have one of these games. But they're literally the best games of last year,
Just
so I
put
have to decide on one that I
no.
can't
Just put 2 as
use.
a tie.
Well, it's not gonna work. Okay, fine. I'll do a tie for number 3, which is gonna be Fire Emblem Engage and fuck, uh, fuck. It's gonna be Fire Emblem Engage and Octopath Traveler 2. Um, yeah, I just enjoyed Fire Emblem, and Octopath Traveler 2 is one of the best RPGs of all time ever invented ever. You should play it if you haven't. That's all I got to say about it. Um, so that was my number 3. It doesn't even matter. I just need to talk about how good Octopath 2 is. Like, no one else is going to vote for it. No one else voted for it, so it doesn't matter. But I just have to put it out there. It is literally one of the. I don't like old games. I don't like ugly sprites. However, this game, I still prefer the first game, but like this one, there's more interaction with the characters. I don't like all the characters, but I do love the story. I love the like so many things were added. Like the difference between night and day and how that changes your abilities. The music changes at night when and it changes again during the day. It's the same theme in a different way. All the characters' themes are played in different instruments. Their names spell out Octopath again. They have like they just put so much thought and effort into HD 2D, which looks beautiful. Like it looks beautiful. Like I am a big sucker for graphics. The game looks beautiful. It plays really well. The characters that I love them so much. Like it literally is not predictable, and I love that some of them are predictable, some of them are lame and rote and predictable. But the ones that aren't, I'm just like,
Did you say
I
broke?
want to know your story, huh?
Did you say broke?
I said rote.
Oh.
And then Engage is just I think it's one of the best real-time strategy games that came out last year.
It's turn based, not real time.
Oh, sorry, turn-based strategy
I
games
really
that came
know
out last
nothing
year.
about that game.
Huh?
I'm just talking shit.
Sorry, it's one of the best turn-based games that came out last year. I really enjoyed it. I loved all the characters. I loved Alir. We already talked about Alir. I
Colgate and
loved like
Pepsi.
the character designs were great. I think they did such a great job at differentiating between all of the characters, and just how they are. I think the story was very predictable, but I didn't care. Like I loved so many of them. Like I think they had so many characters, and yet I think they did not all of them, but most of them. I think they did a really good job at fleshing out like who they are, and like Fagato and Tamara are some of my favorites. Like you just like
Oh my god, forgot
you just
Tamara. I love those
like
two so much.
you see what
Tamara,
happens.
Tamara is the one I gave my pack ring to in the game.
But that's what I mean. Like you say their name and you see the reaction that you have, like
Mm-hmm.
just from just the name of the character. That's why I think that game is just so good. Um. Anyway,
On to your number 2.
yeah, I have to give it points.
Mm-hmm.
What's 13 plus 8?
21.
Remember?
Thank you. 21. So the current standings before we get into number 2 and number 1 is with at a tie for first place is Final Fantasy 16 and Engage, both with 21 points. And then next up is we have a tie for number 2 as well with Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line, and Street Fighter 6 all having 10. All right. This is not going to work out well. My number 2 game is going to be Baldur's Gate 3. And
interesting.
like it would have been number one, but then I played the number one game, and Brandon probably already knows what my number one game is going to be, and it's the best game ever made ever. But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is just one of those games where not only can you play it by yourself, you can play it with a friend. It is super replayable. It just brings D&D to a new level. There's a reason there's a reason it won so many awards. You can literally do almost anything in that game. Your choices actually matter. Where there are some games where it feels like your choices matter and they don't. Your choices actually matter. You are playing and creating your own character. You get to decide to be the villain or the hero. You talk to everyone. I've told the story before, but like changing the smallest answer to something that feels nonchalant can actually open up an entire side quest of bullshit that you've never seen before. It just the amount of things that game can do are like it's mind blowing. I've never played a game as amazing as that one. So yeah, mine is
Apparently, you have if it's
my
your number two.
well, my number one and number two are different for they're very very different games. I'm still thinking about my number one more than I am my number two. That's the only reason why.
Well, so my number two is The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom,
Mm.
and this has been touched on already before, but I really enjoyed exploring this world again. Like I enjoyed it so much in Breath of the Wild, but Breath of the Wild, I took my time with it because it was an open world game where the joy was exploration more so than the story. I didn't feel any particular need to rush through it, and when I eventually did get the story, I was very satisfied where it did go when I eventually did get it. And Tears of the Kingdom is kind of in the same boat. In fact, before I continue talking about it, I think the only reason why it's number two is just 'cause I haven't finished it yet, and I spent a lot of time doing so. Like I've gotten two of the the new champions. I've already forgot what the MacGuffin you're collecting in this game is, but
Sages.
I enjoy. What is it?
Sages.
Thank you. I've gotten two of the sages. I explored I would say about a little more than half of Hyrule already, including the sky, underground, and all that good stuff. Like it's just been fun to re-explore the world, see what's different, explore the new aspects of it again, like the underground and the sky. See the new side quests, how the characters have changed so far. The fusing mechanic that they added for this game, I was a little resistant to it at first, but I really came to enjoy it the longer I spent with it, as in how you really got to enjoy some of the finer points of it. All the new mechanics are great. Ascend is great. The building things. I'm a terrible builder, but somehow I managed to make my way through things. I just no, it's the original game was a masterpiece, and this one is just that, but even more. And I in a few years or however long it takes me to actually finish Tears of the Kingdom, I may go back and say, yeah, man, that should have been the number one. But as it is right now, I the fact that it's number two when I haven't even finished it is very much a testament to how good it is. I would say. That's me.
Christy.
I guess to the surprise of nobody, Theta Rhythm Final Fantasy Final Bar is number two for me.
Yeah.
As mentioned by Brandon Jarrell, I just love the music. It's just basically it's all of the good Final Fantasy songs. It's like a huge chunk of the Final Fantasy songs that you would expect to hear that's included in the game. Plus, there's that huge catalog of DLC. And also, hard mode is actually pretty hard
Mm-hmm.
compared to other
Indeed.
rhythm games.
Yes, yes, it is. I've
It be
dabbled before hard
going
mode.
like oh my gosh, yes.
As a curiosity, I made a joke about it on chat the other day about yeah, let's battle on the big bridge. So I took a toe in that in hard mode. I was like, oh god, I'm getting my ass whooped. I'm sorry, Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
It's bad. I mean, I love it because it's so bad, but at the same time, it's like, oh my goodness, it's so hard, and it means that I have to actually practice to be good.
Gabe.
My number two is The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. No, I'm joking. I had to make that joke. No, my number two is Baldur's Gate 3. Very fun game. I'm not a D&D player. I felt like one playing the game. Even though hardcore D&D players will like to remind a lot of us that that's not a real D&D game.
It basically is. Fuck them if
That's
they said
that's
it's
what
not.
I'm saying. I was like, look, if Jarrell says it's a D&D game, it's a fucking D&D game. You don't know more than
It
Jarrell. I'm
is.
sorry for you, sir.
You don't. You
Random
don't. It
stranger
is.
on the internet. No, but it was very fun for me. Like Jarrell said, it's the equivalent of the butterfly effect. you move one slight thing and the rest of
Yeah.
the story is completely changed. I haven't been able to bring myself to play as a bad guy, but that just means I keep doing replays as a good guy with new things to see. So even to this day, I'm still doing another. I just started a new replay actually as a new type of class. Um, and then when Christy and Brandon eventually get it, we'll be doing another replay of that one on the PS5. But yeah, it's just a very fun game. Thankfully, my computer was up to the task of being able to load the Act 3, which gave a lot of people performance issues. But mine was able to just.
I would just like to also add another reason that that game is so special is exactly what you said. That is a game that you can play with 4 friends, and every time you play it, it's something new. Like literally every single time you play it, it's something new. It's also a game that has had like 4 or 5 endings added to it since its release for free that you can literally just play and just see new outcomes for things that you didn't see before. Like that is
Yeah.
that like the development team has been on it for free, adding new endings to this game. And any game that allows you to play, I played with my partner and Rodrigo, and like just the 3 of us playing was different than when I played with 2 people. Like, and any game that allows you to do co-op that is as big as that one and is as fun as that one, it has to be like, there's no way I could have put it any lower than I did. Like it's just the things that that game does like mechanically is wild. Like to think that all 4 of us can play that game together, and I can have a like 5th, like Christy can talk to someone and do something that I've never seen before, as it's still getting updated. It's like I mentioned, there's a reason that it won Game of the Year everywhere, because it's just that type of game. And my number 1 is, to probably the surprise of no one who has heard me talk about this game and try to make everybody play it, even though they haven't. My number 1 game is Paranormasight: The Seven Mysteries of
go.
Honjo. It is like literally just, I can't say anything. You just have to play it for yourself. Like you just have to trust me and play it for yourself. I promise you, you have probably never ever played a game like it before. That is um, visual novel. I promise you, you've probably never played a visual novel exactly like that one. You played something similar, but you've never played a visual novel like that one. It is one of those games where once the puzzle clicks, you feel like you've actually done something, and by the end of it, you're gonna just be like, wow. Like you're literally gonna end that game and just be like, what did I play? It's that good. I can't talk about it. Anything I would say is just gonna spoil the experience, I think. There are some problems with it, but I've just never personally played a game like that before, and it left me wanting more. It also left me shouting at everyone to play it. It is it's not an indie, but like it's a little indie visual novel, and it really is just it's such a unique experience. Like it is so, I can't say anything because I don't want to ruin it. But Brandon knows what I want to say. There are just things like, just do the first
Yes.
puzzle. Like just if you just try the first, like if you just finish the prequel for the first chapter, and you like just do that much, and then you'll understand. Like just do that and you will understand why I think this is one of the best games, one of the best visual novels ever made, ever, of all time. And I played a lot. I played Danganronpa and the 999 series, all that stuff, and I still think Paranormasight: The Seven Mysteries of Hanjo is like, and they're also, it's cool. The mysteries are cool. You're like, Brandon was talking about lore. There's a shit ton of lore in this game. It's really cool to learn about. Like there's so much to read, but also you will want to read it. Like you will want to learn about, if you like if you like any type of God, what is that genre? True crime. Like if you like any like true crime genre or stuff like that, that they're all mysteries of death. So you're gonna get a lot of information about how people died and what it means, and like you'll piece things together. It's such a great experience. Everyone should play it. I'm done.
I will piggyback a little bit off it before we move on, because this game did come out in 2023, which of course is why it's on Jarrell's list. I just want to make this very clear to all our listeners. The only reason that it's not on my list, and the reason why it's not in the top 3 on my list, is because I did play it in early 2024. So I technically couldn't do so. But had I played this in 2023, yeah, no, absolutely would have been in the top 3 somewhere. Like it is absolutely as good as he says. And if you love, and I'm a person that loves like characters, variety of characters, ensemble like cast, you get that in this game too. You will
Yes.
see a lot of different characters. You will see a lot of different motivations. Some you agree with, some you will not. But that is the point of the story, for you to see these characters, and just see what the decisions they ultimately make as this narrative unfolds. And yeah, I also don't want to really spoil it.
Yeah, you can't say anything. It's all a spoiler.
There really is very little you can like. All I can really say, it's a visual novel that has a lot of, deals with crime, a lot of scary elements to it. Well, not a lot of scary. Like there's some that like maybe jump a little bit, but I wouldn't say that's prevalent in this game. It really is more about the mystery aspect of it. Yeah, the way you solve puzzles in the game is just like unlike any other game I've ever played. Honestly,
100%.
you will feel like a genius solving some of those puzzles.
Literally.
Like I told Jarrell how solving one of those puzzles in like the intro sequence, like, oh, this game is special.
That's what I'm saying, man. You do that first one, and like this is a special game.
Like,
and
I don't even have to say it. I'm not going to, of course, because I don't want to spoil it. But when you solve this specific puzzle in the prologue sequence of the game, you will be like, oh, this is something different. That's all I'm gonna say.
Right. And the best part is it literally tells you how to solve it. But like you might not understand that it tells you how to solve it until you solve it, and you're like, wow, the game literally tells you how to solve it. It's amazing.
Yes. Yeah, I like Jerome said about reading the game. Make sure you're reading this game.
Yeah,
like, even
all
if
the answers are there.
Like the answers will always be there, even if you don't think it is. Just like make sure you're reading things carefully. You have a log that shows past dialogue. If you're lost, read that. Look at tutorials, read it. The answer will always be there. So just wanted to put that out there.
Also, it's not long, which I love.
It's also not long. That's why I did it, to be clear.
Hours, like maybe 15 hours at most, probably like 10, 12 hours, maybe even 6. It's really not a long game. Like you can literally play the whole thing in a day or two, like 1 or 2 sessions. So definitely because of its length, like, and just its uniqueness, my all-time favorite game of last year.
So my number 1 is going to be Spider-Man 2. Now, I adored the original Spider-Man that was on PS4. Literally, if the Smash Ultimate had not released that year, that would have been my game of the year for sure. I also really enjoyed Miles Morales for what it was. But Spider-Man 2, man, that game really, I felt it was one of, like, it's not the first, certainly, but it was definitely one of the first games that I had played that really made a case for what the PS5 was capable of in terms of, like, the graphical capabilities, how fast you could load when you're doing fast travel. It was just great. Like the technical stuff you could do in the game was crazy. The visuals for like the first boss of the game is Sandman, and it's just like seeing the visual spectacle of him like appearing all throughout New York City. I'm like, yo, video games can look like this now. Just like it was just so nuts to me, just seeing like some of the visual effects that you can see in this game. But of course, the gameplay, much like the first game, was really good. It's even better now. You have 2 different Spider-Men to work with, Peter Parker and Miles Morales. And they have some core stuff that they play similar to, but they also have their unique skills as well that you can upgrade. Peter has a lot of his, he has his gadgets, and as Gabe said earlier, will also gain access to symbiote abilities. Miles has access to his Venom abilities, which is like the electrical abilities, and his stealth abilities. So you will get some stuff unique to each character, which freshens things up a little bit. There's a lot of good side quests that you can do. Some side quests can be done by both Spider-Man, and they even went as far as like, adjust the dialogue depending on which character you're playing as. And of course, there's some side quests that are specific to the individual Spider-Man. Like some side quests only Miles can do, some can only Peter can do. And those that, of course, that are tied to those specific Spider-Man are, of course, more impactful to that specific character for that reason. But even going to the main story, it goes back and forth between Peter and Miles. I like both of their narratives. Like Gabe said, the Miles story is very much a coming-of-age story. You got a little bit of it in Miles Morales, but this fleshes out even more. You really do see Miles grow as a character significantly in this game, and it also moves Peter's story in a big way as well. So if you're also into just like good narratives, I think this game will really fit the bill in that regard as well. I was genuinely invested in the stuff that was happening in both of the character stories, and was very curious to how some of those things were going to resolve. Like Spider-Man has always been one of those characters to me. Video games, regardless, has always had a very good balance between the action and storytelling, and the game absolutely delivers on that front. They've always felt like very good Spider-Man stories, and this game is absolutely no exception. It also feels like the original Spider-Man was like setting up a lot of stuff and also doing its own stories. Spider-Man 2 is doing a mix of like resolving certain storylines that were started in the first one and also setting up a lot of new ones. Like Gabe alluded to one in the side quest that is very clearly setting up Carnage. There's a few other shall we say setup characters as one side quest that I will not spoil. But yeah, I wouldn't say that's a prevalent thing. Like this game felt like a conclusion for many and tease to come for others as well.
Cool.
So very much enjoyed it. I'm very, very interested in seeing what they do next from Insomniac because this game is absolutely excellent.
That was great. Chrissy.
So my number 1 is Pokemon Sleep.
You can't.
Just kidding. Escape of the Kingdom.
I was like, Pokemon Sleep over Pokemon Detective Pikachu? Like what?
I was gonna do the relevant to Spider-Man. I was gonna do the Norman Osborn meme. It's like, oh, you can't do this. For all we know. Now once I sacrificed. All right, continue.
So, like what Brandon said, I really enjoy exploring the world, but also I like the fact that you could just do whatever the heck you want. You can play the game however you want it to play. And there's just really not that many limitations. I really enjoy just looking on Twitter and seeing like what crazy things people build. My friends would send to me, oh look at what they built and whatnot, and then like terrorizing the poor Koroks, which was actually kind of.
Everyone who terrorized one of the Koroks needs to go to therapy.
Wow.
I have never terrorized a Korok. I see them online. I'm like, you people are monsters. How could you do this to this little guy?
It's easy.
Look at that face.
It's easy. They just ask too much.
Oh my god!
Miles and miles and
you to go from one point to
oh
another.
my god!
He just wants to see his
far.
friend.
It's
not
so
even that far.
I mean, y'all can just say no. Like,
right?
He's like,
like
all right.
no one's forcing you to do it.
Yeah.
Like you don't. And then what was it? Damn it, Gabe, remind me. The sun guy that always has the signs that needs help. Like
I
getting.
don't remember his name because I hated him, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know
y'all don't have to help him either.
No,
like,
then I did. After the first one, I was like, "You can go fuck yourself. If you can't build, build your sign, you do not deserve to be worshiping this guy who is known as a builder. You were obviously not worshiping him the right way. You dork."
Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, Chrissy, were you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
We just kind of got derailed, but yes, I'm done.
Gabe, what's your number 1?
My number 1 is Overwatch 2. Nah, it's Tears of the Kingdom. Fuck Overwatch.
Okay, like, thank you.
Just gave me a perma-ban. I'm not giving them anything. No, it was Tears of the Kingdom. I'm gonna play, not devil's advocate. I'm just gonna be a hardhead and say, while a lot of people have said, it was like, it's visually wise, it's like playing through Breath of the Wild again. I highly disagree, but that's because I've played both games enough to notice the changes in the map. Like, yes, it's the same overworld, but when you look at it, they've added so much to other sections because of the change in scenery. I thought the depths was one of the, I'm not going to say best parts of the game. It was one of the more interesting parts of the game. It was definitely, to me, it kind of felt like it had a little bit of Dark Souls lore building to it where you kind of don't get told a lot about it. You kind of have to see for yourself what the depths is really about. So it was really cool for the fucking gloom hands and all that. But it was, and another thing I liked about the depths is when you dive into the entrances, that very brassy theme song that it has. Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
That was. I thought that was really cool. And speaking of sounds and music to the game, the music for this game, I'm gonna put it over Breath of the Wild anytime, because it's definitely livelier. The music when you're coming from the Sky Islands down to the ground has a little twinkle in it. The music for the towers, when you blast off of them, I think it's so much. It's so fun and adventurous. I like a lot of the new features they had. You know, the fusions, the ascending through ceilings and whatnot. My only little gripe with Tears of the Kingdom is
Oh shit, he has a gripe.
I do
Oh
is
no.
in the way that it follows the Breath of the Wild formula, where you can decide what part of the story you want to do. The only
Yeah.
thing I really didn't like was that they kept the sage, the sage introductions the same. So every time you meet a new sage, they all say the exact same thing, and it's like, bruv, I know you're doing this because people go about the story in a different way, but I don't want to hear a Goron talking like a Gerudo or a Gerudo talking like a Rito. I hated that. But then you obviously played the visual of their flashback, whatever, and it's like, okay, there's the difference in it. But so much fun. Again, the boss battle at the end. One of my favorite parts of the boss battle is Ganondorf's HP bar. So in Breath of the Wild, a lot of
Damn.
people
Spoilers?
I just
Kind
muted.
of-
I muted
kind
Yad.
Okay, yeah, because I don't know
Spoilers.
either, so I'm
No, you know
mute
about
as
this
well.
because we laughed about it the other day. Not the other day.
Oh,
a couple
I do
months
know.
ago.
Just
Yeah.
kidding. I know. Yes,
Yeah,
I know.
But for people who haven't played or haven't gotten that far, Brandon, spoilers. So one of the things people criticized Breath of the Wild for was if you get all four of the champions, your boss fight with Ganon starts at half health. So Nintendo wanted to be funny this time, and they're like, okay, here's Ganondorf, the first phase. Here's the second phase of Ganondorf. You know what? Here's the third phase of Ganondorf, where his bar takes up half of the screen. And it was one of the funniest things because you're looking at the HP bar go back up, and you're like, oh, damn, I gotta fight him again. And he just keeps going. I thought my game broke, but that's actually part of the game.
I messaged Gabe was like, what?
Yeah, like,
Excuse
I'm
me,
looking,
what?
I'm like, let's go a little farther. Is my game okay? But then the actual,
Yep.
then the final phase of the final boss battle is just, it really gets to, you really get to see Hyrule, literally. It's so good. Little sad they didn't come out with DLC for it, but you know, we can't get what we want all the time.
Can't get what you want all the time. Okay, Brandon, you can come back.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and so then when Darth Vader shows up and Force chokes
Oh my
Link,
god.
You mean I thought everyone knew that?
apparently not.
I don't.
I mean, listen. Link was in Soul Calibur 2. Darth Vader was in Soul Calibur 4. That means they could just meet, you know.
Yeah,
so I've
absolutely.
always expected that could just happen.
So should we do so we're done. Sorry, we're done. I have our top 5 here. That's what I was doing this whole time. I was gonna do top 10, but there's so many like low votes that I'm not going to. So we officially have the top 5 games of 2023
Let's hear
voted
it.
by HPCritical.
Yeah.
And should I start from like 5 and go up?
Yeah.
Although I feel like we all know what number 1 is, based on our information. All right, so number 5, actually is going to be. Actually, I wonder how I'm going to do this. Does a tie count as like
I would just say both
2
of the ones that-
places?
I would just say both of them.
I say a tie counts as it's one place.
I don't agree with that. I feel like a tie should count as 2 places. So like it would
I'd
be
rather just hear them, to
top
be honest.
4, and then like okay, fine.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
top 4.
It's top 5, but like 2. So number 4 is going to be Baldur's Gate 3 with 18 points. Number 3 is going to be Theater Rhythm with 19 points. Theater Rhythm Final Bar 9. Number two, which is going to be twice, is tied, which is going to be Final Fantasy 16 and Fire Emblem Engage. And of
Wow.
course, the number
Wow.
1 spot is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom with 31 multiple points. So that's our top 5. Tears of the Kingdom, Final Fantasy 16, and Fire Emblem Engage Tide, Theater Rhythm, Final Barline, Baldur's Gate 3, and then if we did do top 5 and didn't include those 2, it would be Spider-Man 2 for the number 5 slot.
Okay.
And then we go on to Paranormal Sight, Ghost Trick, and some other things like underneath. But that's our top 5. How you guys feeling about that top 5?
I think
Solid
Baldur's Gate
list,
3 would be
honestly.
higher if
That's
Christy
solid.
and Brandon would buy the game.
I think Baldur's Gate 3 would be higher if Christy and
True.
Brandon would buy the game as well, because there's no reason it should be in number 4. It should be the top 3.
Well,
but,
Jarrell,
you know,
Jarrell,
yes.
if all of us had played Paranormal Sight in 2023, it'd just be.
It would also be in the top 3. Like, I don't understand. I agree. I think this list is solid. I think we all played a lot of different games. I think we did mention a lot of games. I feel like we do have a lot of well-known AAA titles. But we've got some cool stuff in there like Ghost Trick, Phantom Detective, and Paranormal Side. I think it's really awesome. Advance Wars 1 and 2. We definitely got some highlights to some titles that were lesser known, which is always great. I think we got a pretty solid list here for 2023. Top game, of course, Tears of the Kingdom. I wonder if I wouldn't have voted for it. It still would have won by a long shot. So it wouldn't have mattered. I gave it like 2 points. It's literally sitting at 31, and then the number 2 slots for 16 and engagement.
I mean,
all
10
3 points over.
The remaining 3 of us put it too high
We're in
that
the
it
top.
would that
Yeah,
would, that
it-
would not have gone. Like
Nothing that could have happened to change it.
Yeah.
I'm so interested though. Like it's so interesting that I am the only person that like is not gelling with it the way that you guys are.
Is
But,
it
I mean,
interesting, or is it
yeah, I think that is
predictable?
interesting.
Because you're you.
case studies.
So when are you gonna play? When are you guys gonna play Paranormal Sight and Baldur's Gate 3?
I don't know. I
I'm
just
never gonna
finished
play
Final
the
Fantasy
Parasite
6.
one because I'm still doing Final Fantasy for you. But
Yeah.
you only
okay.
get one game recommended to me that I'll play.
I think
All right. Well,
this
it's been a.
I was gonna say this entire podcast has convinced me. I think to skip that Sephiroth 3D Brawler fight. So I can do
Oh
the side
God.
quests.
Like, bruh. Yeah.
Just do a side quest so I can finish this game. I want to see Rebirth.
You need to see the end so we can talk about it. Yeah, so that's it. That's our top 5. With Tears of the Kingdom, the winner of 2023. This was really fun to do. It's really awesome to hear you guys talk about games that you're passionate about. It's super, super great. Hopefully, people agree with our list. And if you don't, it's because you don't like good games. I said it there. And with that, I think we're good, right?
I think so.
I think
too.
we're good.
All right.
Don't let this
thank
Christmas
you.
tree fool you. This was recorded recently.
Thank you, Gabe.
I don't know, Gabe. This is a 2023 list, and there's a Christmas tree behind you for all you. Maybe we're seers. Maybe we can see the future about how Final Fantasy VII Rebirth turned out. I'm having a vision now.
This is not wrong, technically.
I'm psychic.
Thank you,
That's the only
Gabe.
answer.
Thank you, Brandon, and thank you, Christy. And with that, I think we're out. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye,
Peace,
everyone.
everyone. Bye.
Let's go! HP Critical!